This is a document that was given to me, or a link was sent to me by a whistleblower who used to work for Child Protective Services a long time ago. And she mentioned to me that if they could stop her from distributing out this booklet, this pamphlet that she had received when she was working there, they would. But she was sharing this with everyone. I think that she had guilt trips about what was going on, and she wanted to let the world know. This document explains so much. It's called A Carrot Amongst the Sticks, the Adoption Incentive Bonus. She sent me a link in a private message on Facebook, and then one day I had lost my phone and I didn't have it anymore. And when I tried to find our previous messages, I couldn't find it because her account had been shut down. So I ended up finding our messages, and when I clicked on that link that she had sent me, it was no longer, it went to an error that the web page was no longer available. And I was bummed out because I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to have this document. I can't share this document. Fuck. Because it explains everything. I mean, it tells you why CPS is stealing your kids, and why the minute that your kids go into foster care, at the 12-month hearing, from 12 months to the day that your child is placed into foster care, they're going to terminate your parental rights, whether you're a good parent or not, and they're going to push for adoption. This is why. You never had it right. You never had a chance to win in court. And whatever they say about at the 6-month hearing, the reunification services, they're going to terminate them. And I was like, what reunification services? They never tried to reunify you in the first place. They were only putting your kids' pictures up on adoption, Kid Connect network and whatnot, trying to find how many people were available and were interested in adopting your kids. They were never going to give them back. And this is why. And she shared it with me. I thought I lost it. She was right about them shutting her down. They did. But luckily for me, I was able to, I'm sorry about that. I'm talking. I just wanted to tell you guys the background. I had actually forwarded this document to a friend of mine, and when I looked in my sent messages, I saw that I'd had this as an attachment, so I was able to retrieve it. So I figure I might as well make a video of this with my phone and make it easy for me to share it. So I'm going to go through it kind of quickly. She wrote down here, the prices for these children doubled in October 2008 after it was passed by Congress and the House. She put her little highlights on there on this document. But this was a PDF document. You might find it interesting to know that this was done during the Clinton administration. In 1997, Congress enacted the Adoption and Safe Families Act, the most extensive federal child welfare legislation since the Adoption Assistance and Child Welfare Act of 1980. Among other things, the legislation places renewed emphasis on child safety by requiring states to make more, she highlights this, timely determinations about permanent arrangements for children in state custody. In addition to shortening the timeline for permanency hearings from 18 months to 12 months. The Act sets deadlines for the initiation of hearings terminating parental rights. The overriding message of ASFA is that foster care is not the best place for children to grow up in, and states must make more determined efforts to find permanent homes for children who cannot be returned to their biological families. One of the most novel provisions of ASFA is the Adoption Incentive Bonus. This provision encourages states to find adoptive homes for children who are legally free for adoption by granting a financial incentive for each foster child the state places in adoption above a baseline number. At the bottom of this this document, one of the last pages, there is a what do you want to call it? Basically, there's a graph that shows you each state what their baseline number was, how many kids were in there, or what their baseline number is. So how many kids above that baseline number they have to get in order for them to get this bonus incentive. Congress authorized a bonus payment of $4,000 for each child, foster child, and an additional $2,000 for each special needs adoption above the baseline. The Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, calculated the baseline by averaging each state's number of finalized adoptions of children from foster care from 1995, 96, and 97. The financial incentives for adoption that are a part of ASFA were first recommended by President Clinton's Adoption 2002 report, published in 1996. Adoption 2002 outlined an agenda to help overcome barriers to permanency for children in foster care, including goals to speed up the pace for permanency through adoption. It was anticipated that the bonuses would help states achieve the Clinton administration's goal to double the number of adoptions nationwide by 2002. In fact, states are well on their way toward this goal, having increased the number of finalized adoptions by 64%, from 28,000 in 1996 to 46,000 in 1999. Well, now here we are in 2020, and I know that in 2014, maybe they were running out of kids and decided to start bringing them in from, South America. And you got all these unaccompanied minors that are now being crossed over the border, and you had to ask yourself why during the Obama administration. The use of financial incentives to meet certain policy objectives was an innovation of the Clinton administration. In addition, the adoption bonuses, the administration authorized financial bonuses to states to reduce the number of out-of-wedlock births and to move people from welfare to work. In each case, DHHS created a baseline standard and measured states' success according to factors unique to each social policy issue. Unlike the adoption bonuses, which were distributed to every state that increased adoptions, welfare and out-of-wedlock birth incentives were only given to a handful of states. Meaning that if you were a single mother or a single father and had your kids removed and placed into foster care, and then had your rights terminated and had them adopted out, more than likely it was because you were in one of those states that gave an incentive for having an illegitimate child adopted out. When first authorized, the adoption bonuses provisions received mixed reviews in the child welfare field. Some criticized it was being akin to a bounty for children, and some were concerned that the state agencies would make inappropriate decisions for families in order to receive the bonus. You think? There were also concerns that states would not reinvest bonus dollars in adoption services. Others were more supportive of the bonus, believing that the federal government had finally produced a carrot for good social policy rather than a stick. Many were also encouraged by the provision's focus on adoption, which they believed has been ignored for too many years in the federal policy arena. The out-of-wedlock birth bonus and welfare to work bonus are discussed in more depth in the appendix. See CWA-LA Adoption News, Winter 2000 edition, Volume 3, Issue 3. You'll have to research that yourself. Between 1997 and 1999, as noted above, adoptions increased substantially. Every state in the country had received a bonus for at least one of the years in which the incentive was offered. 27 states received bonuses for both fiscal year 1998 and fiscal year 1999. Once the other states saw this, that they could make that kind of money, because obviously they didn't get it at first, but they quickly fucking got the gist, and now it's all over the place. 27 states received the bonuses for both fiscal years. In both years, the amount of money owed to the states exceeded the $20 million appropriated for the bonus. Congress appropriated additional funding to make up for the shortfall, providing states with their full bonus amounts in both years. 2007 was $28 million. Cornerstone Consulting Group began studying the adoption incentive bonus in 2000 to learn about using incentives to promote increased adoptions. We initiated phone interviews with 50 states and the District of Columbia, speaking with directors of children's services and their adoption specialists. Interviews ranged from 30 to 70 minutes. Among the questions we investigated are the following. Let's see what they asked. Did states do anything differently to respond to the incentive? Did the lure of the bonus have an impact on how state agencies did business? How did states reinvest the bonus dollars they received? Was the money reinvested in the child welfare system, and if so, how? How were decisions about investment of bonus funds made? Is the adoption bonus a powerful enough incentive to move policy and practice in a different direction? Is it a wise use of federal resources? Are there other incentives that Congress might consider to promote permanency for children in foster care? How about the reunification services? Did any of them work on reunifying parents? It'll show you at the bottom of this document, and you'll be shocked to know that they only reinvested that money in being able to take your kids away from you. Although we asked each state's representatives the same 5 questions, there are some methodological limitations to our inquiry. First, the interviews were brief, and although we asked for general information about what the state was doing to enhance the adoption process and meet the requirements of the Adoption and Safe Families Act, we did not have enough time to put all answers into the specific context of each state's child welfare system. Second, the answers to the questions were self-reported. There was no process to independently verify the information. Third, in some cases we spoke with child welfare directors. In other cases, with adoption and other child welfare staff. And in a few cases, we interviewed both directors and adoption staff. However, individuals participating in the calls varied across states and included staff from different levels of the state organization with different responsibilities for policy and programs. The answers to some questions were somewhat dependent upon our sources. Given the variation in sources, our data may vary slightly by state. Finally, our inquiry was limited in that we spoke with staff at the state level only and did not speak with local administration or adoption staff. Despite these limitations, we believe that we have been able to gain an accurate picture of states' experiences with the adoption bonus and to determine the value of the bonus as a way to promote adoption nationally. What the states are doing in general. Here's the findings. The adoption bonus was authorized at a time when the states were already changing their adoption systems. In the mid-1990s, several forces combined to propel state and county child welfare systems to make significant changes in how they handled the adoption process. First, many states had new state legislation calling for greater attention to finalizing adoptions for children in foster care, and many had laws similar to FAFSA prior to this enactment. And by 1998, most states had laws that brought them into compliance with the national legislation. Second, several states had set up adoption task forces or other initiatives to identify barriers to permanency for children and were working to implement recommendations. Third, litigation against child welfare agencies motivated some states to reform their child welfare systems, including adoption services and policies. Fourth, foundation-funded initiatives, such as the Kellogg Foundation's Family for Kids initiative, stimulated reform in several jurisdictions. In general, states were making enhancements in the following areas: recruitment of foster families, particularly minority families, and families interested in special needs children; contracting with private agencies to perform many adoption functions; legal reforms through attorneys and the courts to streamline the process to terminate parental rights and finalize adoptions; training on permanency related issues, including adoption sensitivity; technology to recruit foster parents and create greater awareness about the needs of individual children; data management to deal with the flow of cases through the system and to ensure accountability for better permanency outcomes. What states did differently to respond to the bonus incentive? Says generally the states report that they did not change adoption practices to respond to the adoption bonus. The bonus provided an extra incentive to keep moving in the same direction, but in no case were improvements in the adoption process motivated solely by the existence of the bonus. The money is not the motivation to do a good job, noted one state administrator. Whatever. As mentioned previously, internal and external pressures, such as the enactment of state legislation in ASFA, litigation, financial burdens of foster care, and public dissatisfaction with the status of children in foster care, had already forced improvements in the adoption process prior to the authorization of the bonus. While the money received through the bonus allowed states to reinvest the activities to quicken the pace of reform, in no state was it the primary motivator for changes in the adoption system. Although no state reported doing anything differently to respond to this bonus, states did report two important side effects of the availability of the bonus on their systems: improved data systems and better collaboration with the courts. Many agencies, now they can conspire to legally kidnap our kids. Many agencies interviewed said that the need to report adoption data to HHS accurately and in a timely fashion resulted in useful improvements in their data reporting systems. Some states had difficulty reporting accurately on the issues or on the status of cases, and reported data had difficulty reporting accurately on the status of cases, and the reported data lagged far behind the actual status of the case. And by working closely with the courts to ensure that the state status of cases are reported in a reasonable time frame, agencies and the courts now have more accurate information with which to judge progress toward meeting permanency goals. States use I'm just going to read what she highlighted now. States use incentive funds to contract with private agencies, purchase legal services for termination petitions, legal services to expedite adoption. No state indicated that they had a process that included families or the general public in decision-making about how incentive funds would be used. These individuals questioned why adoption was the only permanency option with an incentive. That is a good question. Questions about incentives for preventing foster care placement and for shortening the length of time in children stay in the system were most commonly mentioned as potential ways to improve permanency goals. Wouldn't you think that they would be, if they were reunited with their families, that they could actually get out of that foster care system sooner than 12 months? If they were to give them back? I mean, that's like 12 months that they didn't have to be in foster care, I think. Anyway. Few adoption dissolutions and disruptions. Improved court processes, adoption with 1 year of termination of parental rights, adoption tax credit, funding for post-adoption services, funding for more preventive services, research particularly in the area of adolescent issues, more discretionary funding to promote better practice. To keep everything discreet. In general, individuals we interviewed were positive about the adoption bonus and believe it brings needed attention, energy, and excitement to the adoption arena. Most support the bonus as boosting flexible resources for the adoption community, resources that have only previously been available through limited and competitive discretionary grants. These resources, as noted earlier, have helped quicken the pace of reform that had already been set in motion when the bonuses were authorized. Furthermore, as one individual noted, it is nice to be rewarded for good work rather than punished for poor performance. Incentive to steal, kidnap. The bonus is good for agencies and worker morale. Increasing the number of adoptions. Competition into the system and allowed them, or the progress of other states introduced a healthy competition into the system and allowed them to see which states were making the greatest headway. We'll wait till you see what the states make. Says, on the other hand, many noted a concern about rewarding states for increased numbers rather than better outcomes. Although few expressed concern that agencies would make wrong decisions in individual cases in the quest for bonus funds, they feared that the adoption incentive gives the message that adoption is the best plan for all children and families. In some cases, this message has been interpreted to mean that money matters, not outcomes. Such changes must satisfy the dual goals of maintaining a safety net for all children, support aimed at preserving families and protecting children. It says right here, an additional concern about the federal financial structure is the linkage between the AFDC rate, which is tied to 1996 income levels, and foster care and adoption subsidies. Because there is no cost of living increase on the AFDC income limit, fewer and fewer children qualify for the Title IV-E. Many expressed support for eliminating the link between the subsidy rates and AFDC as a way to maintain the federal share for these children. That's right, you saw what I said, folks. The Title IV-E funding. That is why they take your children. It says, yet the bonus also sets a questionable precedent in the social policy arena that should be carefully examined. First, the bonuses places value on adoption above all other forms of permanency, even when adoption may not be the most appropriate option for some families. Second, it places emphasis on increased numbers, with little attention to which improvements in the adoption process lead to better outcomes for adoptive families. And with very little public input into how these dollars are invested, there will be little accountability for decisions on spending the resources. In the future, public input and review into how bonus dollars are spent may provide the pressure needed to ensure reinvestment in child welfare services and supports. Yeah, but see, nobody's going to be able to get this document. I know that. I'm just lucky that I was able to recover this and share it with you all. Because I tried searching for a carrot amongst the sticks online in every search or data search engine I could find, and I couldn't find this document. So what you're seeing right here, folks, share. Here we go. This is the part, baseline adoptions and adoption bonus awards. I'm from California. So California's baseline number was 3,287 children. In 1998, adoptions percentage increase. They went from 3,287 to 3,958. That's a 20% increase. They earned that year $3,916,000 in their bonus. Ooh, man, they saw that number, right? They increased it by 20% and they got that much money? Wow. Well, that sure made them in 1999 pick up their pace, because they got 6,254 kids in the state of California. So the baseline number is 3,287. Now, for the fiscal year of 1999, they got 6,254. That's a 58% increase. Look at that bonus. $11,698,000. You can imagine how much they're getting now with all those unaccompanied minors. Yep. So you guys can take a look at your states there. See what they have for you. How states reinvested it. I'm just going to... You guys can pause and take a look at all these things that these states did. The welfare and illegitimacy bonuses. Ha! You know, it's kind of messed up when your government, when the society starts seeing pedophilia as a norm, and, you know, but a single parent, a single mother out of having a baby and not married is just that is just an atrocious thing, isn't it? The adoption incentive bonus is one of 3 bonuses authorized during the Clinton administration. One of 4 goals of welfare reform to reduce the incidence of out-of-wedlock pregnancies. The bonus program distributes $100 million to the 5 states that achieve the greatest declines in out-of-wedlock births. That's $100 million to the 5 states that achieve... Ooh, so they're really trying to go after those single parents and get their kids, huh? Achieve the greatest declines in out-of-wedlock births and reduce their abortion rate to below the 1995 level. States are not mandated to take any specific action to receive this award. Compete on one or more of the measures. The amount awarded to each high-performing state may not exceed 5% of the state's TANF block grant. Like the adoption bonus, the illegitimacy bonus, and the TANF high-performance bonus have helped bring flexible resources into states that can demonstrate that they have achieved a certain social policy goal. A DHHS spokesperson acknowledged that the bonus may be more a reflection of demographic changes than the program initiatives. A state's illegitimacy ratio could very well change without any policy intervention. Finally, in the case of each bonus, there have been complex issues. That's reducing non-marital births. There have been complex issues related to how to accurately measure the state performance. First, it is often difficult to get consistent data across state agencies. Second, in the early years of the bonus programs, the data were reported for years that predated their legislative initiatives and thus did not reflect changes the states put into place to respond to the new legislation. The first illegitimacy awards, for instance, were based on data from 1994 to 1997, which did not necessarily reflect the efforts states made to implement TANF legislation or any programs developed specifically to reduce out-of-wedlock births. As we saw with the adoption bonus, it has also been difficult to get workers, the courts, and private providers to record and submit data accurately and in a timely manner. Basically, what she's saying is that illegitimacy awards kidnap the children so that the mothers never want to have any children for fear they will be taken. There you go. There you have it, folks. It's called the carrot amongst the sticks. The adoption incentive bonus. Now you know why. This answers a lot of questions for me on what is the motive for kidnapping our kids. Here you have it. Thanks, Clinton administration. That was really swell of you. Share, share, share.